So the Green Bay Packers are on the clock here in the third round, pick 87. Jamari Caldwell just went to the Los Angeles Chargers. Big nose tackle type of defensive lineman. There's still C.J. West on the board if the Packers want to add a nose tackle, a little bit shorter than they typically like. If they want to go edge rusher here, Braden Swinson, Kyle Kennard make a lot of sense. They missed out on a lot of corners, but there's still a couple available that make sense for the Packers. Quincy Riley out of Louisville, Zoff Frazier out of UTSA, Bilal Coney, Jason Marshall Jr. are options here. The Packers pick is in. They are not trading. The pick is in at 87. Let's see what they do. Very, very interested. They went Anthony Belton in the second round, which is a little bit of a surprise to a lot. They've been having visits with left tackles all off season, so that much was telling. The whole entire draft process. Some sneaky options here, like if the Packers double dipped at wide receiver and went Jalen Royals or Alik Eyumanor, it's an option. A complete shock would be like a running back, but there's no way. Who do we go?
The Green Bay Packers select Savion Williams.
Wow. They went Savion. They win another receiver, and it's Savion. That is great. That is out of left field. Oh my gosh. I know a lot of people wanted him to Green Bay. I wasn't one of them. There's other receivers that I just felt like more Packers types, like Alik Eyumanor, Jalen Royals, Torrey Horton, Ty Felton. To go Savion here, he's intriguing, guys, but Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, two receivers in the top 3 rounds, I think tells you a lot about what they saw from their current receiver core in 2024. You know, we had high hopes going into 2024. Was let down for the most part. A ton of drops, which Savion Williams also had a ton of drops in this last season, 8 total drops at 11.8 drop rate. But, you know, he's your go up and get the ball type of guy, 88.9% contested catch rate. And this guy is so intriguing in terms of the ball in his hands. You never really see a guy that's 6'4", 222 move like him. The amount of shift that he has with the ball in his hands is very, very intriguing. I wasn't too high on him on the draft process, but you know, the thought of Savion Williams in a Matt LaFleur offense, it has to excite you. It definitely does. You know, 23-year-old wide receiver out of TCU here is very, very interesting. The Packers clearly do not value cornerback and edge in this draft as much as many people made it seem, right? It seems all but likely that Jair is staying, if the fact that they didn't get a corner in the first 3 rounds, unless they go up and get one in the 4th. I don't really know, right? Jair still is under contract. As for edge, I mean, we've been saying this a lot this offseason. With the hiring of Covington, I think they think very highly of him and what he can do for Lucas Van Ness. What Brenton Cox Jr. gave to this defense over the last half of last season. He was one of the highest pass rush win rates in the NFL. I did say right before this pick, a sneaky, weird surprise would be a wide receiver. I didn't think Savion Williams. I thought more Alik Eyumanor or Jalen Royals. But, you know, having Matthew Golden and Savion Williams added to a group of Romeo Doubs, Tay Wicks, Jaden Reed, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not excited about that. Christian Watson, torn ACL, maybe that says a little bit about what they think about Christian Watson's health going forward. You know, suffered a ton of injuries so far with the Green Bay Packers and likely won't see the field next year until at minimum week 12. Now you got Matthew Golden, your deep threat guy, your X. Now you got Savion Williams, who quite literally can play anywhere in terms of a wide receiver, right? He can play the slot, he can play out wide, he can play in the backfield. You can quite literally put this guy anywhere. The drops are definitely a concern, and that's kind of why I wasn't too huge on him. The Packers suffered a ton of drops in the NFL. I believe the second most or top there in the NFL last year. So this is an intriguing pick. It seems like Bo Melton, McCole Hardman, and Malik Heath are yesterday's news. And at this point, maybe the Packers move on from Romeo Doubs. Maybe they move on from Wicks. I hope they don't. I'm still very high on Dontavian Wicks. But the Packers needed to add weapons, and they just did. They added Matthew Golden, they added Savion Williams, and maybe now they address edge, cornerback, defensive line. in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds.